Good morning, fathers of daughters. This is Ephraim B. Martin. Welcome to Grow Dad YouTube channel. This is another live stream. I welcome you, fathers. So today, fathers, we have another live stream going on. Hope you had a good week. Oh, let me wish you a happy Easter. Today is March 31st, Sunday, and it is Easter. So hope you enjoy your day, fathers, with your kids, with your family, and just get out there and enjoy yourselves. All right. So, fathers, we are here today for another live stream. What we're going to be discussing today is unfit parents and the criminal justice system. And the reason I want to discuss unfit parents in the criminal justice systems, fathers, is because we have a lot of parents that are unfit. And we have a lot of fathers that are not just fathers, but parents that aren't handling their business when it comes to their children. So I want to share some videos with you today. I have quite a few that I would love to share with you to take a look at what exactly is an unfit parent. I worked in the criminal justice system for 20 years. I'm a former state of Colorado juvenile probation officer. So I've seen my share of unfit parents. I've worked with a lot of unfit parents. Also, when I worked 10 years in K-12 education, I worked around a lot of unfit parents. So I've seen my share of unfit parents in my lifetime. Working in the criminal justice system for the 20 years I did and coming across unfit parents, it's a very eye-opener. It's a situation a lot of times kids are just stuck when they have an unfit parent or unfit parents. And today with social media platforms, I see a lot of things out there that as a parent of 4 adult daughters, I would have never done with my daughters. Particularly when we're talking about parents, when they're sharing their kids online through social media platforms. One of the things a lot of these parents don't understand, whenever you share your kids online, a lot of your private, intimate situations that you're having with your children, you're inviting predators into your home. You're inviting predators in your space. You're sharing some of your most intimate settings and some of your most intimate times with predators. And I just don't think that today's parents fully realize what they're doing when they decide to share their kids online. I never shared my daughters online through the internet, through social media platforms, because I know the dangers of sharing your children. I know the dangers of exposing your surroundings. I know the dangers of inviting predators into your home. But we live in such a world that is just so relaxed that parents, they don't think about a lot of times the safety and the dangers that they're inviting into their home with predators by sharing their children. You know, I get social media. I understand that making videos of your children. I recorded my daughters all the time from birth to 18, but those are private. And there's just a lot of things that you shouldn't just be sharing with the world. But parents do today, because a lot of parents are just relaxed and they don't think about the harm that they could bring into their homes by sharing some of their most intimate settings with the world. We live in a crazy world. And I, for one, I'm glad that my daughters are all adult women. I no longer have to worry about dealing with the craziness of them being reared in a world that is not going to be kind to them. And that there's just with today's world, particularly with the social media landscape, there's just no way I would ever expose my daughters and share them intimately with predators. I have a totally different understanding and I have a totally different approach because I worked in the criminal justice system. So I saw a lot of bad things happen to children. And like I said, dealing with a lot of unfit parents and unfit parenting, it just, I just would not allow my kids on to be exposed that way. I just wouldn't. So, I'm not here to try to tell any parent what to do with their family or their children. That's your call. You're the parent. But what I would advise you of is you need to be very, very careful what you're allowing online for the world to see. Because the fun that you're sharing and your intimate moments that you're sharing with the world, you have to always understand there's a criminal element to that. Criminal elements don't give a damn about your family. Criminal elements don't give a damn about you. And if they know your location, if they know where you're living, if they know what your space looks like, and they decide that they want to come for you, there's nothing you're going to be able to do. They're going to be able to come for you and your family. So, parents, you just need to be very careful what you're sharing. And you need to be aware that there's human beings in this world that don't have your best interest or your children's best interest. And if there's any way they can get to your kids to exploit them and take advantage of them, they're going to do that. So that's just my spill. That's just my opinion because of what I've dealt with in working in the criminal justice system and K-12 education. I saw a lot of bad stuff happen to children. So I'm just not as relaxed or open as a lot of today's parents because I know the dangers of online presence when it comes to children. There's always going to be predators that are lurking and waiting to take advantage of kids and their families. So that's my thing. Okay, fathers. So I want to jump into these videos. It's going to be quite long today. It's going to be over an hour for the live stream. And just want to take a look at what an unfit parent looks like. And I want you to understand when it comes to parents being unfit, parents that are unfit come from all socioeconomic classes. They're not all poor. They're not all middle class. They're not all rich. They come from all socioeconomic classes. And when I was a probation officer, I dealt with a lot of children. I worked in Jefferson County, Colorado, the first judicial district. I was a state juvenile probation officer. So those of you that are familiar with Jefferson County, you have Evergreen, you have Conifer, you have Golden, you have Bailey. You have a lot of areas that have money. And like I said, I worked in a county where a lot of parents that had money, they were unfit. And they were unfit towards their children. So a parent unfit is a parent unfit, regardless of the socioeconomic class in which they come from. Okay, fathers, let's get into these videos. The first video I want to share is from a woman. She was a YouTube quote unquote sensation. And we're going to look at her trailer first. I got 3 videos on her. And this particular family, this is crazy to me. I came across this information a few months ago and did some real thorough research on this particular family out of Utah. And what I'm going to be sharing with you is real disturbing. It's crazy, actually, what ended up happening with this family and the children within this family. Okay, fathers? So here we go with the first video.
My gosh, you guys, having kids is so much fun.
Ruby Frankie, a Utah mom turned YouTube momfluencer who amassed 2.6 million subscribers. was known for her strict disciplinarian parenting style.
My kids are literally starving. I hesitate to say this because it's going to sound like I'm like a mean barbarian, but I told the kids, I said, I'm not even going to let you eat breakfast until you get your chores done.
But authorities now say that her tough love was actually child abuse.
911, the address of your emergency.
I just had a 12-year-old boy show up here at my front door asking for help.
Ruby Frankie's son escaped from the Utah home of her self-help business partner, Jody Hildebrandt.
Ruby said a 12-year-old male showed up with tape around his legs Thursday asking for help, said he was afraid asking for police.
The boy was reportedly starved and tied up with duct tape alongside his 10-year-old sister.
This kid is obviously been detained. He's covered in wounds. We need the cops here as soon as possible.
As law enforcement dug deeper, they uncovered injuries, torture, and emotional harm inflicted by both Frankie and Hildebrandt.
It's horrifying that it has taken to this long and to this degree for people to listen and to do something about it, but not shocking. Not shocking that she could or would do this because she's already done this.
Law and Crime takes you behind the scenes, from Ruby and Jody's path to internet stardom to the investigation that brought them down.
With my deepest regret and sorrow for my family and my children.
We take you inside the courtroom as the women face justice in this Law and Crime original podcast, The Rise and Fall of Ruby Frankie, exclusively on Wondery Plus. Join Wondery Plus in the Wondery app or on Apple Podcasts.
So, Fathers of Daughters. That was the trailer for Ruby Frankie. And I'm going to be sharing two more videos with you. The first one is from ABC News. It's showing the actual situation that led to this with Ruby Frank and the friend that she used, who was I believe she was a psychologist, and how they abused these children. It's absolutely insane what happened in this family. And although the father never got charged, I'm feeling a certain way because of what I saw happen to these children. And I do understand that justice has been served. I have a lot of questions regarding this father and why he was never charged. But being a former probation officer, I would much rather see the children end up with one parent that didn't get charged with abuse versus these children ending up in foster care, because I know what happens in foster care to a lot of the children, and I do not want to ever see children, when they go to foster care, ended up abused, because a lot of kids, foster care for a lot of kids is not a good experience. But the next video you're going to be seeing is it's pretty graphic. It's crazy to me. And like I said, the one thing you're not going to convince me about this family is that the father didn't know what was going on. I'm not buying that, particularly working in the criminal justice system for 20 years. I'm just not buying it. So, like I said, I'm not going to question the court and what the district attorney decided to do as far as charging the mom and the friend of the family, and not the father. I'm just feeling a certain way about it, because I refuse to believe that the father was in that household and he didn't know what was going on with his children. I'm not feeling that as a dad. I'm not believing that as a dad. And like I said, justice has been served, because she's been sentenced along with her friend that participated in the abuse of their children. So give me a second and let me set up the second video, fathers. Let's see here. Okay, here's the second one. Okay, fathers, I'm almost there. Give me a second. Okay. Okay, fathers. Like I said, this next video, it's disturbing. All three videos are actually very disturbing. This second video, it's almost 12 minutes long. And then the third video is going to be almost 30 minutes long, and it's showing the actual sentencing of Ruby Frank. So here we go, fathers, with the second video of Ruby Frank and her family. Okay, fathers, what are your thoughts about this video? This is video number 2. We got a third one that's almost 30 minutes long. When I was doing the research on her, Ruby Frank, it was crazy because her YouTube channel was taken down, and apparently she had over 2 million followers on YouTube with the family. But the research that I came across was just, it's crazy to me. And the woman that she met, that she was taking her kids to for therapy, I mean, you saw that house. One person living in a 10,000 square foot home. I mean, it looks like a compound to me. It's just crazy. It's just, none of this makes any sense. And they have money. This is a family that had money. Both of the homes are huge. Huge homes, right? But the other woman that was the therapist, I'm telling you guys, as a criminal justice professional, I had to put on my thinking hat. And I'm just thinking to myself, what on God's green earth would possess a person to live in a 10,000 square foot home by themselves? That house, I can guarantee you, probably had 15 to 20 rooms. That is insane. It's absolutely insane. And the next video I'm getting ready to share with you shows the sentencing and the justice that took place with the mother and the therapist. This is what unfit parents look like. And like I said earlier, it has nothing to do with socioeconomic class. You could be poor, you could be middle class, you could be rich and be an unfit parent. This is insane. This is crazy to me. How some parents get caught up through social media engineering. And I just see so much stuff on YouTube. I see so much stuff, and I see these parents. I mean, kids don't have a right to say no, right? If a parent is going around filming their kids and telling them we're going to dance, we're going to make TikToks, Instagram, or whatever we're going to do, kids don't have a right to say no. That's crazy. What if they don't want to be on TikTok? What if they don't want to be on YouTube? What if your children just want to be normal kids and live their lives? They don't want to be dancing and singing and doing all the stuff that parents are making them do. Parents are out of control, man. Some of these parents are out of control. You go to social media, some of these parents are out of control. I see so many baby girls, fathers of daughters. I mean, their first smile, their first taste. Why is that being shared with the world? I don't understand this need a validation. This need to have likes, this need to have followers. None of this makes any sense to me. As a criminal justice professional, I'm telling you, I have to look at it through a totally different lens. I have to look at it through the lens of the criminal justice system. And what I see these parents doing with their baby girls and their baby boys, ain't no way. Ain't no way. See, they don't see the dangers now because a lot of these parents are capitalizing on the income that they're receiving from YouTube. It's crazy, man. This shit's crazy. It don't make no sense. These parents are exploiting their children through social media engineering, and they don't even think twice about it. They think it's okay because you can't tell parents what to do. I'm telling you, as a criminal justice professional, nothing good's going to come out of this. You know, you start exploiting your kids, and then you wonder why they end up jacked up in the end. It's because of you, parents. You're the jacked up parents. You're the jacked up ones forcing your kids to do this crazy stuff. Everything, I'm telling you, YouTube, when I see these parents, what they're doing, makes my skin crawl, makes my stomach hurt. I'm just sitting back like, so kids they just don't have no privacy anymore, right? Parents been doing more than kids. It makes no sense to me. I'm not with none of this. I'm not. You can call it fun. You can call it whatever you want. But I'm telling you, working in the criminal justice system, being a criminal justice professional, I saw another side. I saw the dark side of this. And it's not good, parents. Putting your kids all out there. Letting everybody see where you live. Showing your most intimate moments. What the hell is wrong with adults? What is wrong with adults? I don't understand. I don't get it. What the hell is going on with today's adults? Today's parents, millennial parents. What is wrong with y'all? I come from Gen X. We didn't get down like this, man. I mean, growing up on social media got y'all jacked up. There's no boundaries anymore. There's no secrecy anymore. It's just a damn free-for-all, whatever. And you parents are okay with it, man. And then when it turns out bad, you want to blame the kids. This makes my blood boil. This is crazy as hell. But this is what an unfit parent looks like. This is what unfit parenting looks like. You think it's all fun and games. Parents get caught up. They need validation from the world. That's crazy to me. It didn't used to be like that. I don't know what has happened to where human beings need the acceptance of strangers. What the hell is that? You need validation from strangers, people you don't even know, commenting. What is that? Maybe I'm too old school. I'm thankful for coming from Gen X because what I see in millennials and Gen Z parenting, man, y'all crazy as hell. I don't want nothing to do with it. I mean, you just doing whatever you want, no boundaries, friendship. I'm gonna be cool with my kids. They're my buddies. Wow. All right, fathers. Yeah. Doesn't make any sense, man. It doesn't make any sense to me. I don't get it. I really don't get it. Like I said, I must be too old school. I must be, because this foolishness and nonsense that I see going on with these parents today, man, ain't no way. Gen X parents, we were just built different. For real. We were just built different. All right, fathers, I'm getting this next video set up. This is the actual, what I'm getting ready to show you is the actual sentencing for Ruby Frank. She got charged with child abuse, and the therapist as well. All right. Video number 3 of Ruby Frank.
For the past 4 years, I've chosen to follow counsel and guidance that has led me into a dark delusion. My distorted version of reality went largely unchecked as I would isolate from anyone who challenged me.
Your conduct in this case was disastrous for these children. Adults are supposed to protect children.
Ruby Franke and Jody Hildebrandt have officially been sentenced for abusing Franke's 2 young children. It was a dramatic day inside and outside of court, and we have the full recap for you. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. What a journey this has been in the Ruby Franke and Jody Hildebrandt saga, right? Something that we've been covering since August. We have reached the point where both women have officially been sentenced in a Utah courtroom, and that is what we're going to recap now for you, their sentencing. Now remember, Ruby Franke, she was the once popular mommy vlogger who started this now defunct YouTube channel called 8 Passengers alongside her husband Kevin, or her estranged husband Kevin, I should say. And this was a channel that had over 2 million subscribers at one point. It documented their lives alongside their 6 children. But you fast forward a few years, and Franke stopped posting on the channel. This after intense backlash from the online community over her strict parenting techniques.
Eve, this is my tape. What are you doing? What are you doing to this poor baby? Should I tape your eyes to make you sleep?
And at one point, she partners up with Jody Hildebrandt, mental health counselor, and they work together through Connections, this life coaching organization. But in August of 2023, it all comes crashing down. That is when Franke's 12-year-old son escapes from Hildebrandt's home, runs to a neighbor who calls 911.
I just had a 12-year-old boy show up here at my front door asking for help. We know there's been problems at this neighbor's house. He's emaciated. He's got tape around his legs. He's hungry and he's thirsty. And he asked us to call the police. So he's very afraid. This kid has obviously been, I think he's been detained. He's obviously covered in wounds. We need the cops here as soon as possible.
So this child appears malnourished, lacerations on his body from being tied up. Police recover him as well as his 9-year-old sister at Hildebrandt's home as well. They both have injuries. They are both malnourished. You come to learn that Franke and her 2 children, they were staying with Hildebrandt. In fact, Franke and Hildebrandt had actually filmed a video together in that house that was posted 2 days beforehand. So you can't say that they didn't have knowledge about what was going on in that house. They were there. So they're both arrested. They're each charged with 6 counts of aggravated child abuse. But then months later, both Franke and Hildebrandt plead guilty. In fact, before Franke pled guilty, she actually pled guilty first, her attorneys put out a statement on her behalf where it seemed that Franke placed a lot of the blame on Jody Hildebrandt. It read in part, quote, Miss Hildebrandt systematically isolated Ruby Franke from her extended family, older children, and her husband, Kevin Franke. This prolonged isolation resulted in Miss Franke being subjected to a distorted sense of morality shaped by Miss Hildebrandt's influence. But she ended up pleading guilty to 4 of the 6 charges. 2 of them were dropped. She pled guilty to inflicting injuries on her children that constituted physical torture, injuries resulting in severe emotional harm, and a combination of injuries that represented one of the charges. And Ruby, in her deal, had agreed to testify against Jody Hildebrandt. And then on December 19th, 2020, pleads guilty to the same charges in court.
Then Ms. Hildebrandt, how do you plead to count 1, aggravated child abuse, a second-degree felony?
Guilty.
And to count 3, aggravated child abuse, a second-degree felony?
Guilty.
To count 5, aggravated child abuse, a second-degree felony.
Guilty.
And to count 6, also aggravated child abuse, a second-degree felony.
Guilty.
So now it was time for their sentencing. And each charge, each aggravated child abuse charge, carries 1 to 15 years in prison. And in their plea agreements, both women agreed to serve prison time. They agreed that their sentences for each charge would run consecutively, meaning one charge after the other, one sentence after the other. Now, it is our understanding that the judge could possibly say, no, I think probation is more appropriate than prison time. The judge could maybe deviate from the plea agreements and say that the sentences should run concurrently, meaning together, not one after the other, maybe something like that. But we also have to be clear about Utah law, because under Utah law, the judge can only set a range for the sentences and whether the counts should run consecutively or concurrently. The judge can't determine the exact amount of time that each woman should serve in prison. In Utah, that is up to the Board of Pardons and Parole to determine. They determine later down the road when each woman gets released from prison. Now, before we even get into the sentencing, and there's a lot there, Law and Crime, on the eve of this sentencing, received a statement from Kevin Frankie's attorney. And it read, quote, "Neither Kevin nor I will be making formal statements to the press, nor will Kevin be making a victim impact statement. Since the kids are still in the custody of Utah DCFS, Department of Child and Family Services, I suspect that neither will they be. Our only comment is that we trust the judge to sentence them both to the 1 to 15 years for each of the 4 counts to run consecutively, and then let the Utah State Board of Pardons decide if that should be shortened or other conditions imposed. The treatment these children received at the hands of those who the children had a right to trust was horrific and inhumane, both physically and psychologically. Kevin remains focused on the rehabilitation of those sweet and vulnerable children so that they might return to a normal life as soon as possible." Okay. February 20th, 2024, the sentencing of Ruby Frankie and Jody Hildebrandt. First, we start off with Ruby Frankie. Here is Eric Clark, the Washington County attorney, providing a statement to the court. Listen to how he describes this environment that these kids were in.
She committed horrible acts of child abuse. From May to August in 2023, Ms. Frankie and her business partner held her 2 children, ages 9 and 11, turning 12, in a concentration camp-like setting. The children were regularly denied food, water, beds to sleep in, and virtually all forms of entertainment. They were isolated from others and were hidden when people came to visit the house where the children and the defendants were staying. The children were forced to do physical tasks like carrying loaded boxes up and down stairs and wall sits or sitting against a wall without a chair or stool for hours at a time. They were also forced to do manual labor outdoors in the extreme summer heat, at times without shoes or socks. They were forced to stand outside on a cement patio in the summer heat for hours and even days at a time. They were beaten, and the 12-year-old was regularly bound hand and foot after he attempted to run away in mid-July. Heaven only knows how much longer he could have survived in that situation.
Very vivid description right there. And it kind of echoes a lot of what we learned in their respective plea agreement paperwork, where we heard about the injury sustained by these 2 children and what Hildebrandt and Frankie did to them. But then listen to what Clark says about Frankie.
After being caught, Ms. Frankie has shown considerable remorse, as evidenced by agreeing to serve consecutive prison terms and being willing to cooperate with the state against Ms. Hildebrandt. However, given the severity of the abuse she inflicted, consecutive terms are appropriate in this case.
And we can't forget that, as I mentioned, Ruby was offered a deal to testify against Jody. This was, again, before Jody pled guilty. Clark had mentioned at the time that for her participation, the state wouldn't take a position when she would be up for parole. So they were really creating the situation where she was the cooperating witness in this. Doesn't take away from what she did, but it kind of gives you a flavor of that statement. Now, Frankie's attorney, Lamar Windward, made a statement saying, when he first met Ruby Frankie, she was somewhat defensive and indoctrinated. But then she realized what she had done and that she's ready to face the consequences of her actions, to take responsibility. And with that, we heard from Ruby Frankie herself.
I would like to make a statement without any intent to change my stipulated sentence. For the past 4 years, I've chosen to follow counsel and guidance that has led me into a dark delusion. My distorted version of reality went largely unchecked as I would isolate from anyone who challenged me. I was led to believe that this world was an evil place, filled with cops who control, hospitals that injure, government agencies that brainwash, church leaders who lie and lust, husbands who refuse to protect, and children who need abused. My choice to believe and behave this paranoia culminated into criminal activity for which I stand before you today ready to take accountability. Jody Hildebrandt was never my business partner, nor was I ever employed by her. I have never received wages from her or connections. Jody was employed as my son's counselor in 2019, and in 2020, I paid her to be my mentor. It is important to me to demonstrate my remorse and regret without blame. I take full accountability for my choices, and it is my preference that I serve a prison sentence.
Again, very consistent with that statement that was released by her law firm before she pled guilty, blaming Jody. It was interesting. She said that Jody was never her business partner, started off as a counselor, paid to be her mentor. Now, from there, Frankie actually thanked a number of people. She thanked the police who rescued her children. She thanked the medical professionals that treated her children. She even thanked her arresting officer. She said that when the cuffs were slapped on her, she realized the error of her ways. It kind of woke her up. She also apologized to her family and friends for bringing this cloud upon them, for not listening to their warnings, for turning her back on them. And then she focused on Kevin Frankie, her estranged husband, who actually has filed for divorce.
Kevin, my husband of more than 23 years, you are the love of my life. I'm so sorry to leave to you to finish what we both started together. The ending of our marriage is a tragedy. And you are wrapped around my heart in a knot I'll never be able to undo. To my babies, over the past 4 years, I was in a deep undercurrent that led us to danger. I would never venture into darkness knowingly. I was so disoriented that I believed dark was light and light was wrong. I would do anything in this world for you. My willingness to sacrifice all for you was masterfully manipulated into something very ugly. I took from you all that was soft and safe and good. I took from you your mother. How terrifying this must have been for you. And I will still cry for hurting your tender souls. You are so precious to me. I'm sorry.
Now, I'm also going to tell you that Law and Crime trial producer Kathy Russin, who was in that courtroom during the sentencing, she reported that Kevin Frankie, who was in the courtroom as well, was reportedly crying. But from there, Frankie said that she is ready to do what is necessary.
I am humbled and willing to serve a prison sentence as long as it takes to continue unraveling all of the misinformation I have believed and bought, swallowed, and acted out, and for my family to heal and for the community to heal. And I understand this is going to take time. I'm committed to continuing my learning until all of my toxic layers are shed, and I am ready to re-enter as a contributing member of our beautiful society.
Now, I will tell you, I have heard a lot of statements from defendants before they're officially sentenced, okay? In my opinion, to me, that felt to be one of the more genuine ones. Doesn't take away from what she did, not at all. Doesn't take away the fact that she needs to be punished. But in my view, it does make me wonder if it gives more credence to the idea that she was manipulated by Jody Hildebrandt, which we will get to in a minute. But here was the judge officially sentencing Ruby Frank.
The sentence will be that Ms. Frankie serve 4 counts, 1 to 15-year sentences based on her convictions for 4 counts of aggravated child abuse. Again, they will be served consecutively pursuant to the parties' agreement.
So 4 sentences to be run one after the other for all 4 charges. And under Utah law, as I said, the judge cannot set the exact prison term. That's up to the Board of Pardons and Paroles. They have wide latitude, wide discretion. The maximum, though, our understanding under the law is that either Jody or Ruby, the maximum they could serve is potentially 30 years in prison. Not sure that's what they'll ultimately get. That appears to be the maximum. There's also this issue of restitution for both Ruby and later on Jody when she was sentenced. And it's about what they owe in terms of the costs for continuing rehabilitation and treatment for these kids that they abused. And we reported earlier on Sidebar that Jody specifically, there was an injunction put in place that she couldn't sell any property off that could be used to cover those costs. The judge said in this sentencing hearing that that injunction remains in place. Prosecutors have indicated that they haven't prepared that restitution report yet, but that will come down the line. Hey, so we're going to get back to the Ruby Frankie and Jody Hildebrand story in just a minute. But look, one of the reasons that we're able to bring you these stories, and this is an important story to talk about and analyze, the reason we're able to do it is all because of the great support we get from our amazing partners. And I just want to highlight one in particular right now, Morgan & Morgan. I always love talking about Morgan & Morgan. They're the largest personal injury law firm in the whole country. And one of the things they do so well is they make it easy for their clients in these very difficult and traumatic personal injury cases. You know how they do that? They have completely modernized the process from submitting your claim to uploading documents to talking to your whole legal team. They have 4,000 support staff, by the way. It can all be done from your smartphone. That's it. You can see if you have a case in just a few minutes. And look, the truth is, if you're hurt, you need to know how to protect your rights. You need to know whether your injury could be worth millions of dollars. If you're going to take on big insurance companies that sometimes lowball offers, you need a big law firm. And Morgan & Morgan, they don't settle for those lowball offers. No, they recently won verdicts of $6.8 million in New York, $12 million in Florida, and $26 million in Pennsylvania. Mind you, these are all higher than the highest insurance offers for these accidents. And get this, the fee is absolutely free unless you win. So to start your claim now with Morgan & Morgan, go to forthepeople.com/LC sidebar, click the link in the description and pinned in the comments. After Ruby Frankie was officially sentenced, it was then time for Jody Hildebrand to be sentenced. And we heard once again from Eric Clark, the prosecutor. And while his statement regarding Jody was very similar to Ruby, recounting the same kind of abuse that these children suffered, it felt extra pointed against Jody Hildebrand. You see, he said that while Frankie, after being caught, showed remorse, he says Hildebrand was the complete opposite.
After being caught, Ms. Hildebrand has shown little to no remorse for her actions. In telephone conversations that will be provided in full to the Board of Pardons and Parole, and which she knew to be recorded, she's repeatedly claimed that she is the victim and the children are the perpetrators. She has gone so far as to say that the things said in this proceeding and covered by the media today will be full of lies. The combination of 3 factors make Ms. Hildebrand a significant threat to the community. First, the severity of the abuse she caused to be inflicted on young children. Second, her attitude that everything she did was justified and that she is being wrongfully imprisoned. And third, her training as a therapist and aptitude for using online resources to convince others to follow her guidance.
We didn't know about those phone calls. That's very interesting. We don't know the substance of those, but that is very interesting to hear. The idea has always been that Jody manipulated Frankie into all of this, that Jody is almost more of a danger to society than Ruby Frankie. That's what Eric Clark's saying. And I will tell you, it seemed like the judge was kind of agreeing. Listen to what happened when Douglas Terry, who represents Hildebrand, started speaking.
As is always the case in cases that come before courts, there are 2 sides to every case. My experience with Ms. Hildebrand is that she is not the person that she has been portrayed to be. But having said that, she has accepted responsibility in this case.
Mr. Terry, you suggested that there are two sides to every case. I generally agree with you. Ms. Hildebrand didn't make a statement to AP&P in the course of the pre-sentence investigation report.
Correct.
Why did she not make a statement?
She wanted to reserve her right to make a statement before the court today, and she has a brief statement that she wants to read.
You can hear the judge sort of saying, two sides. Strange she didn't provide a statement before. Is she really remorseful about what she did? What is her second side exactly? Well, I'll tell you what. We heard from Jody Hildebrand herself.
I sincerely love these children. I desire for them to heal physically and emotionally. One of the reasons I did not go to trial is that I did not want them to emotionally relive the experience which would have been detrimental to them.
The judge had some thoughts about that.
Does Ms. Hildebrand recognize that it's her behavior that caused the harm to the children that she's referred to in her statement?
Your Honor, she recognizes that she was, along with Miss Frankie, that she made decisions with respect to the discipline of those children that were wrong, that caused harm to those children. She fully recognizes that and accepts responsibility for that.
Kind of hear Douglas Terry, Jody Hildebrand's attorney, kind of saying, well, it wasn't just Hildebrand, it was Ruby and Jody together. Now,
by any measure, your conduct in this case was disastrous. In this case, you terrorized children, and the results have been tragic. It's what happened to these children, and your philosophy in dealing with them, frankly, seems detached from reality or any objective standard of decency or even common sense. And the court finds that it is appropriate that you serve a prison sentence. The court finds under the statute, Utah Code 76-3-401, that given the gravity and circumstances of the offenses, the number of victims, and the history and character and needs of the defendant, that consecutive sentences are appropriate. The court imposes 4 1 to 15-year sentences to be again served consecutively for each of the 4 counts of aggravated child abuse.
Yeah, some of that commentary was very different than what he said to Ruby Frankie. It was a lot harsher directed towards Jody Hildebrand, really focusing on the fact that she had a responsibility. She had a training that almost made it worse. And he sentenced her to the exact same thing as Ruby Frankie, 4 consecutive terms of 1 to 15 years in prison for each charge. But the drama did not end there. No. After the sentencing, the attorneys and a special guest made appearances outside the courthouse. Listen to the very sharp words from prosecutor Eric Clark.
The abuse was horrific, and it would have been apparent to anybody that would have seen the kids that something was wrong here.
Is this some of the worst child abuse you've seen in your career?
Yes, and not just in my career, but in our office's career, in our institutional memory, this is one of the worst child abuse cases that we've seen. I hope that Jody does serve more. I think that would only be fair. I think that Ruby should serve. So the sentence that they got is basically 4 to 30 years today, right?
Yes.
The 4 1-year minimum stat, and then in Utah you're capped at 30 years. I think that a 4-year minimum for Ruby's actions are entirely appropriate. I hope that Jody serves more time than that, and I hope that she isn't out of prison until everybody is completely confident that she's no longer a risk. And to get there, she's going to have to acknowledge that she has done wrong, and that you can't use religion as a means to justify your crazy behavior.
And Ruby Frankie's lawyer seemed to disagree.
The prosecution said this is the worst child abuse case their office has ever seen. What's it like on the other side of that?
I don't think it's the worst.
I mean, he's representing a client who just pled guilty to aggravated child abuse and hopes she gets out one day. What's he going to say? That it's the worst child abuse he's ever seen? No, not surprising. But Hildebrand's attorney, Douglas Terry, he faced some tough questions from reporters.
Her home was essentially likened to a concentration camp. How did she square that? How did she walk around living in this community while it was House of Horrors?
I'm not prepared to respond to that. That's an allegation that I heard for the first time today. I mean, that's a characterization by the prosecutors, which again is no surprise. But that's from their perspective. I'm not prepared to do.
You don't feel that's an accurate description?
I do not.
You disagree with that characterization?
Has Ms. Hildebrand, has she expressed remorse to you about what happened?
Many times. Many times.
What is her remorse? What is she sorry about?
That she didn't make different decisions and that would have resulted in the children being more protected.
Is she delusional?
I'm not going to respond.
And then, in a surprise twist, Adam Steed, who is a claimed victim of Jodi Hildebrand, he has spoken out about her before. He actually took the microphone of our reporter on the ground, Sierra Gillespie, and he had some things to say about Jodi Hildebrand.
You guys want to know who Jodi Hildebrand is? Here, I'll answer your questions. He's her attorney. He can't answer them. I fought against Jodi Hildebrand with my family and everybody to stop this monster of a lady. And Jodi went after me. She went after me, destroyed my life in the craziest way you could ever think of possible. I almost fell over in the courtroom when I heard Jodi say that she loved those children. Jodi doesn't love children. Jodi's like Ted Bundy.
Wow. Emotional day, tough day, kind of puts a point at the end of a story that we have been focusing on since August. At one point, we thought there was going to be a trial. But there you have it. Jodi Hildebrand, Ruby Franke behind bars for the foreseeable future after they committed these atrocious acts against two innocent young children. We will, of course, continue to monitor what happens next in this saga. That is all we have for you here on Sidebar, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Jesse Weber. I'll speak to you next time.
Okay, fathers of daughters, what are your thoughts on that video? That was deep. Very, very deep. The sentencing of Jodi Franke and her accomplice. You know, fathers, I want to say something to fathers. Being the head of the house, fathers, you cannot allow your wives to be making these decisions, putting your kids out there. You can't do it, fathers. And I'm reaching out to you dads. You know, with this whole social media thing, I'm not with it. You know, and like I said, I can't tell you fathers what to do in your household, but don't allow your wives to manipulate you into doing some crazy stuff with your children, putting them out there to social media. See, this all started as fun and games with social media with Ruby Franke and her children. And then it turned into something totally different. Fathers, these videos here of Ruby Franke, this is teaching. This is a teaching lesson. This is a teachable moment, as we used to say in K-12 education. This is a teachable moment because none of this makes any sense. None of it. It's just, it's insane. And like I said, I'm feeling a certain way about this father. You know, she stated they were married 23 years. So you're not going to convince me of 23 years of marriage. You didn't know what the hell was going on with your children. You knew what kind of woman you was married to. But like I said, the courts went through the court process. The district attorney did what they did as far as going after the mother and the therapist, didn't charge the father. So I'm not going to question that. But my gut tells me this dad knew what the hell was going on. I'm a father of 4 adult daughters. Ain't no way. You ain't gonna tell me I don't know what's going on with their mother. No. That's crazy to me. So, okay, fathers, I have a few more videos that I want to share with you. This next video I want to share with you is it's another crazy one. What I want to explain to fathers of daughters, what I want to explain to parents, to the world. When parents are raising their children, if you decide to raise your children in filth, it's not illegal, unfortunately. I saw a lot of crazy things when I was a probation officer, state juvenile probation officer. This next video I'm getting ready to show you, I had a couple cases that were very similar to this, where these families, they lived in filth and they raised their children in filth. But it's not illegal. And although it's nasty and it's inappropriate, it's not illegal unless there's a safety and protection issue. Unless there's a protection and safety issue, then social services could get involved. But if the kid's going to school every day and there doesn't appear to be a protection and safety issue, living in filth is not illegal. We do have nasty ass parents, but living in filth is not illegal. Okay, let me get this next video set up, fathers.
The kids.
Okay. I got a few more videos, fathers. So here we go.
The kids' room right here. Handprints of shit all over the entire room. Your feet just stick to all the shit in there. That's the nastiest house I've ever been in.
It's what officials are calling a house of horrors. Disturbing body camera video shows a house in Oklahoma covered in feces. Inside, 3 children living amongst bugs and animal waste.
I mean, I gotta feel like I got a pretty strong gut. That was as nasty as I've ever seen.
Unsettling footage shows Stillwater police officers inside the home, responding to reports of child sexual assault. Inside, officials finding a disturbing scene.
Yeah.
Video shows feces smeared all over the walls, and officers can be heard saying it's all over the home.
Is this what you're talking about, cleaning up the carpet? I mean, there's poop everywhere.
Officials were called to the house back in March, where 35-year-old Stephen Kittle allegedly sexually assaulted a 4-year-old girl back in January.
Can you go ahead?
Go ahead and put your hands on your back, Corey.
May I ask what's going on?
All right, right now you are under arrest for child sexual assault. Okay, we're not going to talk about it while we're here. We'll talk about it back at the police department, okay?
Detectives say Kittle later admitted to the sexual assault, saying it happened on multiple occasions as a 1-year-old watched on. Both children lived in the home along with another 18-month-old child, 6 dogs, and 3 cats. Kittle also lived in the home alongside his wife, 26-year-old Lindsay Pratt, and his mother, 59-year-old Robin Kittle. All 3 adults are now charged with child neglect after officials found the home in squalor.
Bro, that is the worst house I've ever been in right there.
Video shows officers walking through the home, taking inventory of the area.
All right, there's the carpet floor was like this when you moved, not the junk one over there.
According to court documents, quote, the air was thick and musty, which made breathing difficult. We could not complete the walkthrough without taking breaks outside for fresh air. Video shows one officer remove himself from the home and begin spitting and gagging outside.
Trade you for a sec.
The dark gray Dodge Journey is left being driven by a black male who's involved in the disturbance, has an expired paper tag on it.
Ooh.
After an initial visit, court documents say the 18-month-old girl's hands were, quote, covered with dried feces, which she rubbed in her hair and eyes. Court documents go on to say, quote, it was obvious the children smeared the feces because of the size of the handprints.
She's like, we're trying to clean up. You go in this room, and it looks like you just put shit all over your hands and like all over the place.
Inside the same room, officials say nails were found sticking out of a bed frame, and children were often locked up to prevent them from eating food out of the refrigerator. The children were taken into custody by the Oklahoma Department of Human Services. All 3 adults are now being held in the Payne County Jail. Reporting for Long Crime Network, I'm Sierra Gillespie.
Okay, fathers of daughters. That is straight up nasty. Unfit parents. Like I said, they come from all socioeconomic classes and backgrounds. They do. That was nasty. Let me give you, let me tell you, I had a couple kids one time that I was supervising on probation. Little girl, she ended up getting lice in her hair. And the school sent her home, you know, with shampoo and to get rid of the lice. And she wasn't permitted to come back to school. Well, when social services, the caseworker, I'd been speaking with the caseworker, went by the house and saw the house, it was similar to this. It's not illegal. It is not illegal. And social services cannot remove children because they live in filth. This is what unfit parents look like, y'all. This is what unfit parenting and unfit parents look like. It's crazy. And there's a lot of unfit parents. Unfit parenting is a problem. And you have a lot of parents, they're just unfit. I met a lot of unfit parents when I worked in K-12 education, when I was a teacher and dean of students. Right? Because you can't tell people how to live. They're going to do what they do with their environment, with their children. All we can do as outsiders is try to comfort these children as best we can and make sure that they're not being physically abused. But, you know, if the kid's not losing weight and there aren't obvious signs, you're just an outsider looking in. That's the crazy part about it. Okay. Fathers, I want to show you a few more videos uninterrupted. They're going to be back to back to back. There's about 4 or 5 of them. They're each a couple minutes apiece. And I just want to show them back to back to back. And then we're going to finish up this live stream. I appreciate you being available today and being here on your Easter Sunday. I always make the statement in every live stream, all videos are fair use. They come from public sources where it's public information. And the public sources are more than likely they're news channels that are reporting a story. So I'm not taking this information from other YouTube channels and, you know, that sort of thing. This is all public information that has already been reported on, fathers. Okay, let me get this next video set up. All right, here's the next video. I'm going to show them back to back to back to back. Okay, fathers, here we go.
Say please!
New police body cam video shining light on shocking conditions in a child abuse case in Curry County.
We want to warn you, some of this video is graphic. Action 7 News reporter Faith Iwanu has the story.
Say please!
Disturbing lapel video shows the day state police and CYFD paid a visit to this one-story home on Curry County Road in July.
Hello!
Hey, we're here again.
The home belongs to 37-year-old Jamie Cushman and 29-year-old Jamie K. Senna. Both women now locked behind bars on multiple counts of child abuse.
What can I ask what we're here for? Yes, ma'am.
As CYFD and police went through the home, they found it in deplorable condition.
I don't see anything wrong with my home. Do you?
Police say multiple children were beaten, tortured, starved, and chained to their beds under Senna and Cushman's care.
So we just talked to them. We did interviews and stuff. So the little girl admitted. I just want to get an all good with you. The little girl admitted to them placing them in chains for an alarm to go off. And I guess the mom will put chains on their ankles to keep them in their room.
The children's ages range from 5 to 14 years old.
Based on the report we got, and the kids did confirm everything. And we saw the chain, we saw the locks. The kids told us how it works. The kids were very forthcoming this time.
According to the criminal complaint, CYFD alerted police on suspicions 1 month before both women were arrested.
Well, right now, there's also no running water. There is, it's getting too much to eat. There's the sewer line is backed up, and there's poop in the toilet, in both porta potties.
All 6 children were removed from Senna and Cushman's care shortly after the visit.
She's putting a 48-hour hold on all the kids in the home, all 6 of them. All 6 of them, and so that we can complete our investigation.
The case is still under investigation. Faith Iwanu, KOAT, Action 7 News.
Laura Melanson is the third person arrested in this child abuse case. She is charged with 4 counts of intentional child abuse and 1 count of conspiracy to commit child abuse. Details surrounding her arrest are still developing.
Wonder
But there are 2 very different stories emerging in this case. The family says it all started when they called police for help and when one of their kids ran away. But police say what they discovered was some of the worst child abuse they have ever seen. And a warning, some of these images are disturbing.
This morning, behind these walls, shocking allegations of a house of horrors. Police say 10 children, ranging in age from 4 months to 12 years old, were found in this Fairfield, California home, living in squalor. Horrific stories of alleged child abuse.
Every day they lived in torture, every day, all day long.
Wanda Rogers is the children's maternal grandmother. 6 of the children removed from her home are now in her care. She agreed to talk to NBC News, but did not want to appear on camera. These disturbing photos allegedly show examples of the mistreatment.
They went through a lot of abuse.
Their father, 29-year-old Jonathan Allen, is now under arrest, charged with 9 counts of torture and 6 counts of child abuse. Their mother, 30-year-old Ina Rogers, charged with child endangerment, says it's all a big mistake.
My children are my life.
But authorities say what went on inside this house was sadistic.
Puncture wounds, burns, bruising, and injuries consistent with being shot with a pellet gun or a BB gun.
Wanda Rogers says police seized a knife from the couple's home and this book about Satan.
Jonathan worships the devil. He had a devil room that he called a meditation room.
This is just the latest of several high-profile cases involving alleged child abuse. Police in Southern California found multiple children malnourished, bound, and shackled to their beds. Investigators say David and Louise Turpin held their 13 children captive for years. Ina Rogers maintains the accusations against her and her husband are absolutely not true, and she wants her children back.
Mommy loves you so much, and Daddy loves you so much, and we are not going to stop.
Jonathan Allen is still in jail. His bail has been set at $5 million. Police say the abuse investigation is now looking at incidents that may have happened as far back as 2014. And for now, those children are staying with extended family. Guys, back to you.
Gotti, such a disturbing story. Thanks.
Hello, Today fans. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking that button down there and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives.
Six-year-old. A young mother and father both sit in a Miami-Dade jail tonight. They're accused of beating their 6-year-old son at a South Florida mall. CBS 4's Joe Murray is live in Miami, where that couple lives, to explain what happened. Joan?
Well, Elliot, we learned that dad has lived here in Miami for the past 5 years, but the mother of that child only arrived from Central America here a month ago. Both have been unable to make their bond today.
Dasney Torres and Mariana Pinar spent the night in jail after Sweetwater police arrested the couple outside this Bloomingdale's at the Dolphin Mall for child abuse and neglect. Police say their 6-year-old son was found bleeding, nervous, shaking, crying, and afraid to speak. Police say he had been hit in the face with a belt, and they say Torres told them in Spanish, "I'm sorry," but he wouldn't shut up. He had a bloody mouth and a laceration in his upper lip. Blood was smeared across his right cheek. That's because Dad hit him with, was it a belt?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yeah, I think it's excessive corporal punishment, and I find probable cause for the charges.
Pinar's lawyer told the judge that the mother only arrived in South Florida recently.
It's unclear from the four corners of the arrest form how long the child has been in South Florida. He's the father. mother He's just got here. responsible for the child. You make babies, you got to take care of them. Not easy.
Well, Your Honor, my argument here is that it's unclear whether or not this child came from Honduras with the mother a month ago. And this is something that he would have had some sort of control over had the child been here with him. I don't know.
Police also charged the couple with child neglect because, according to a police report, the child's teeth were rotted. According to the report, the cavities were so big and deep that the molars seemed to be hollow. Police say the child had a welt on his back and a scar on his head from a prior beating with a belt buckle. He told police, quote, "Mom is the bad one. Dad just hit me today."
There was cooperation from the patrons at the mall who contacted police. Again, police responded, detectives responded, and found enough, including injuries to the minor, to effect an arrest on both parents.
Pinar and Torres were each given a $5,000 bond. Again, they remain in jail. I contacted Department of Children and Families. They told me that there was a shelter hearing held for that 6-year-old this morning. He remains in DCF custody. In Miami, Joan Murray, CBS 4 News.
Joan, thanks for that live report.
Now, this Griffin couple is waking up in jail after authorities say they nearly starved their 10-year-old to death. Krista and Tyler Schindley are facing a list of charges.
And this morning, we are hearing from neighbors who are in complete disbelief this was happening. Ariana Manish joining us live this morning after digging into the warrants and hearing from those people who can't believe this was happening in their neighborhood.
Yeah, Aisha, neighbors that we spoke to say they're shocked, some feeling a little guilty that they weren't aware of what was happening to this young child. One neighbor that we spoke to says, looking back, there were some red flags.
Parents Tyler and Chrissy Schindley are accused of attempting malice murder, first-degree cruelty to children, and allegedly intentionally withholding food from their 10-year-old child. Arrest warrant alleged the child was locked away for days at a time over several years with no food, water, toilet paper, or even light.
This case is disturbing. It's heartbreaking. I have tried many child abuse cases in my career, and this child was simply put being starved to death.
These charges come after a neighbor spotted the child walking in the road barefoot last Friday. Kim Siegler lives next door to the family, says the boy was looking for food.
She was thinking that was kind of odd.
The neighbor called 911. Police say he begged them not to take him back home.
I can't explain to you how shocked we were, okay?
The child was described as very small and very thin, weighing 36 pounds.
Give you some context. I have a 9-year-old and she currently weighs 76 pounds. This 10-year-old little boy weighed 36.
And Siegler says she regrets not paying closer attention to what was happening steps away from her front door.
I've really been affected by this.
Now, there were other children in this home, but those charges are only connected to the alleged mistreatment of the 10-year-old. Now, those other children, they are being interviewed by officials, and they're also in the custody of DFACS. Back to you.
All right. Ariana, thank you. We're thinking of all those young lives impacted here in this story.
Last month,
abusive, neglectful, disgraceful. Those are just a few of the words investigators are using tonight after arresting these parents for what they discovered inside their home. They say the children were forced to live in a trailer. The parents were living inside the mobile home. This is all northeast of Weatherford, and new at 10 o'clock. Aaron Jones is reporting for us from Parker County.
It was one of the nastiest, filthiest places that I have ever been.
but the Parker County Sheriff says it's what was happening inside this Weatherford home that's truly disturbing.
It was just an awful situation.
Last month, 4 children were removed from this home and put in foster care. One child told authorities their stepfather, 20-year-old Colton Lackey, was sexually abusive and involved with child pornography. Their mother, 34-year-old Amanda Fuller, knew about the abuse but didn't act on it. Both parents are now in jail. Lackey for indecency with a child by sexual contact. Fuller for possession of a controlled substance.
Yesterday, we executed a search warrant.
These photos document the conditions the children were living in. Authorities say drugs, including meth and cocaine, were found.
There were 5 animals on chains, some of them in the house.
So you go in there thinking, what person in their right mind would live in these conditions, much less expose children and animals to these conditions?
I'm glad the kids aren't there anymore. So.
John Coonrad lives down the street and says sometimes he'd see the children's parents outside.
Usually somebody's sitting out in this van with a light tinkering, doing something. I get that people get lost and they do drugs and have a good time or whatever, but to let it affect your family, to let it affect your kids, that's just, I guess that's what drugs do.
And the children range in age from 6 to 15. We did reach out to DFPS to see what prior involvement, if any, they had with this family. We're still waiting to hear back. Reporting live in Weatherford, Aaron Jones, CBS 11 News.
Aaron, thank you for getting us underway in the update from Weatherford tonight.
Okay, fathers, another live stream. Thank you for being present. Thank you for being available. You know, fathers, unfit parents come from all socioeconomic classes and backgrounds and cultures. So I felt like I needed to do this live stream. It was needed and it was necessary. Okay, fathers, until next week, we're beginning a new month, April. I feel good about the live streaming. I'm getting better at live streaming. I'm getting better at the technology of live streaming. I feel totally comfortable live streaming. Once a week, every Sunday at 11 o'clock a.m. Mountain Standard Time. I live in Denver, Colorado. So that'll be 1 o'clock on the East Coast and 10 o'clock on the Pacific Coast, on the West Coast. Okay, fathers, thank you. Have a good week. Kiss them baby girls, kiss them kids, and may God bless you all. Until next week's live stream, I'm out. Peace.